Welcome, everybody, to this visual masterclass on creating clients. I'm excited to have you and to be sharing for the next around 60 minutes, if you're watching the recording, to share a framework that has changed a lot for me. And in this time, please turn off all your distractions because we're going to be working here focused. And right now, give yourself a second to really see, are there any tabs open, anything that you can still like turn off to fully be focused and concentrated on this. And secondly, I invite you to have some materials ready so you can, first of all, join the exercise later, but also start visualizing and drawing as you listen, because that's really how I started as well to just draw as you listen, as you are inspired, write down the insights, really invite you to do these kind of things. So, what are we doing here? We will be learning visual storytelling to simplify your message. And that is crucial for many of you. If you're working self-employed, if you're a freelancer, then getting your message across is something you care about. And visual storytelling is something we can all do to make it more clear. And I'm going to show you how in a second. So what are we going to do? We will be having a little visual input and inspiration from my side. So that's going to be for about the next 10 to 15 minutes, me just sharing a framework that I've discovered. And then we're going to be drawing together. So really, I think learning happens by doing and by practicing. So we're going to be having some time to actually visually create the message and the client that you are working for. And lastly, there will be some time for exchange and also a little bonus in the end. So make sure you make it until the end. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. I have it right here, so I can always, of course, adjust to that. So who is this for? Are you in the right place? So maybe this is you, eager to start with a pen in your hand. And you are in the right place if you care to unite your passion and profession. That's really something I care deeply about. And many people I work with really have that pattern of really wanting to have their work their fullest expression, but also having their business as a form of impact. So I work a lot in the change sector, and many people that are drawn to my work really want to have an impact. So if you want to have impact, you're in the right place. But you might also like creativity. Do you like creative tools and especially maybe visualization, which is maybe why you've been drawn in by this visual work I do? And lastly, you might be liking to learning the nice hacks that get you to the results quicker, because that's actually what I'm all about. I always love learning the things that make it easier. And that's why I started visualization, because it made it easier to learn. And then I started also learning a lot about business, because business is kind of the ultimate life hack, I think. But yeah, maybe that's a good time to talk about myself. Who am I? I guess many of you actually know me, but some of you don't. So this is me as a little sketch note figure. And I really have a background for about 7 years as a graphic recorder. So I went a lot to conferences, mostly sustainability conferences. And I basically drew what happened on large surfaces. And I got quite successful at that. There was this one conference where actually Bill Gates spoke, and I made like a daily rate of 6,000 euros a day, which I'm not really saying here to brag, but really just to show that creative work that is both meaningful and impactful and well paid is possible. And that's kind of, where the life hacks come in. But as I was doing that, I actually realized I'm not fully living my passion. I was only kind of like drawing the ideas of other people. But what I actually do care about is expressing my own essence, which led me down a whole new rabbit hole into something that I now call visual coaching, where I really help individuals to see the bigger picture and to get into visibility, which is the reason I'm doing these master classes and everything you see me doing and creating out there. And on that journey, I came to the realization that like client creation is the key for freelancing, and you probably know that. Whatever you work, clients are key because whoop, clients is basically your work. Without a client, there is no work. There's always someone consuming your thing. And it's really important to have the right clients because they get you the money, they give you the fame, and they give you the fun if you do it right. So having the right clients really matters, or like having clients at all. So many people I work with really have that question, especially when they're starting out, like, how do I attract clients? Where do I do this? Do I have to be on social media? What ways are there to attract clients? And even when you've been working for a time, you might have the question, but how do I attract the right clients? So maybe you have the experience that you've been like working with different people, but there are different kind of clients. And that is a framework that I've learned recently by a fellow coach colleague of mine who talks about two kinds of clients. One of them are the half clients, and the other one are the elf clients. And that is a little acronym. So half stands for hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating kind of clients. And I don't know where you're at the journey, but maybe you've experienced this kind of place where it's really hard to work with a person or a client or a company because they're not really fully aligned with your values and the thing you do. And you're back actually like you started out, you wanted to express your passion, you wanted to express your essence and really live your purpose. And now you're doing like work again, like something that really feels like work. But you probably don't want to have it feel like work. You want to have it feel like passion and flow. And that's where the ELF clients come in. So ELF clients stand for easy, lucrative, and fun. And that's really where the juice for me flows. When I find these people and I'm like, wow, this is a win-win situation. Like you're learning a lot. I'm super passionate, helping you in whatever you want to achieve. And it's even like well paid. Maybe they're like lucrative clients. And this is why client creation matters. And sometimes I actually call these clients the soul clients, which for me was a really nice concept because out there in business, people talk about your target audience a lot. And I always found it a bit like very far out there. And then someday someone mentioned the term soul clients, and I was like, ah, cool. I can really work with that. Like, thinking of my client as someone who's like really, kind of like my soulmate or someone that I'm really feeling drawn to. But in order to attract these kind of soul clients, it needs a soulful approach. So I think you don't get these clients by just, getting AI generated posts out there or anything. It really needs that alignment and that language to attract these clients. And yeah, it might be even hard. So at that like time, I have a little question for you, which is, what do you think is the main problem in attracting clients? And I'd love you to write that in the chat. So really, in what kind of moments do you find it hard to create clients, and why is that? Like what makes it hard? Getting on their radar, Lars says. Babar be found. They are both very similar. Like somehow they have to kind of know us. That's an important point. To be understood and felt. Very nice. That's getting us closer. To persuade them that your price is worth it. Yeah, also very important. The pricing question, of course. Getting first intros and then sustaining the long sales cycle until engaging. Oh, very interesting perspective as well, like having that build up. And Lena writes, translating my work into language people, potential clients understand. Yes, very good. All these, like all of that is true for sure. Of course, there's not like the main problem. What is Ingrid saying? Aligning messaging, channeling an offer, also very important, yes. And get visible with the whole me. Yeah, I love it. I love all the things that you're writing. So, of course, there's not like one main problem, but one main problem that I have kind of discovered and that the framework that we're going to be learning is about is speaking actually to many things that you wrote, which is they don't really understand your offer. So you might be on their radar and they kind of see you around, but it's a bit like that. It's like you have this like, yeah, I'm doing, this embodiment coaching, whatever. And it's like people like they don't get it. And that's why they keep scrolling through live or through social media. So understanding, and that's related to many things that you said, like this emotional resonance, this like they totally understand you and they feel felt by you is part of having an offer and a language that they can understand. Because the problem is, our brains actually need simple stories. Because although we're in this like AI tech work, we still have these kind of like Stone Age brains that have been developing over quite some time, and they are constantly trying to reduce energy usage, and they really try to look for simple messages that they can understand. But the problem is, most of us are like, I do meta modern embodiment coaching. Do you want to buy that? Like, especially in my sort of bubble. Yeah, Lena is laughing, I see. Is that's a trait that many of us share. We really matter. We see the whole picture. We are change makers. We have all these abstract terms to talk about things, but most people, and especially in these like quick situations where they're actually thinking about working with someone, they don't really get what you're saying. So today we're really going to be learning how to use visual storytelling as a way to make it clear, to have a clear message that people understand and see right away. And they're like, hell yes, I want to work with that person. I totally get what she or they are doing and how they can help me. And for this, we have two magic tools that we're going to be working with. First one is storytelling. So really speaking in stories, because that's an age-old technology that humanity has developed, like from the first, like fires we've been gathering around. Stories were always the ways where we made sense of stuff. And the second one is visualization, which is also very old, like paintings on walls and these kind of things and caves. Visualization and storytelling are superpowers to get clear on your message. So just one little last nugget on storytelling, and then we're going to be practicing this together. So storytelling has an advantage because messaging and marketing is important for you, and we see marketing all around us. But most marketing is just noise, which is really the reason why we feel so turned off by even thinking about marketing, because often it looks like that. It's just like annoying messages coming your way and it's noise. But the reason it's noise is because it doesn't have these emotional story resonance languages. It's just like buy here, whatever. It's not very friendly for our brain. But stories, they suck you in. If someone tells you a story, you really begin to listen because that speaks to our brain. That speaks to that part that has been developing over the last thousands of decades. And we can use that technology to actually make our messaging way clearer. And the cool thing is, stories have a very simple structure. And that is because human psyche has developed together with stories. And I guess most of you are aware of the kind of like hero stories narrative, of like there's always a hero in a story and it's always kind of the same framework. And that's also like a framework of transformation, which is great because many of us work in the field of transformation. We want to transform people, we want to transform their relationship to themselves, to others, and we want to transform the world ultimately. And that's really where the hero's journey and the story of the hero works wonders. And it's pretty simple. Actually, every story is the same. There's a hero, like Lord of the Rings, Frodo. The hero is doing their thing, they're having their life, and then they have a problem. Frodo is getting kicked out. He has to bring the ring to this big volcano thing. And often they cannot do it by themselves, otherwise the story is over quite quickly. They need a guide. So Frodo meets Gandalf, and Gandalf gets Frodo to the volcano over very long movies that we all liked. And we like these movies because we can relate to Frodo. We know how it is to be Frodo who has a problem and to be helped because that's literally how we spend our whole lives. Growing up, we were little babies. We had a problem of just surviving, and our parents were the guides that helped us to make it here into this masterclass. So, three steps that we're going to be practicing together. And these are the three steps that you're going to be drawing in a second. But let me give you a little bit more context just so you really understand what we're talking about. So, part one, a hero. Every story has a central hero. If it's not clear who the hero is, if you're like watching a movie and there's like five different characters, you cannot like your brain turns off, which is like this thing we had before, right? It cannot understand the story, and that's why it's turning off. So if you are like talking to a whole different loads of clients, segments, like I want to help these people and these people, if it's not clear who you're talking to, you don't have a hero in your story, and you're not using the magic of storytelling. You're doing something else and might be working, but if you want to use storytelling, you need a clear hero. And that hero has a whole story, Frodo has a whole life and lives and has friends and has many things we could talk about. And then this hero gets a mission. So there's always something that they want. They want something in their lives. Otherwise, they wouldn't be existing in the story. There needs to be someone who wants something. And your clients also want things, which is the hero is your client. So that's the first kind of like nugget that you can really like remember. Think of your client as the hero. And that's what most brands get wrong. They think they're the hero and they're always like speaking like they're the hero, but that's not how other people see you. They see themselves as the hero and they're looking for a guide. So there's a hero. That's your client. And that hero has a problem. Every good story has a problem, and every client has a problem. Otherwise, they wouldn't be looking for services. If they don't have a problem, you can't help them because there's nothing to help them with. So it's not that easy for them. Frodo has to bring the ring to the volcano, and it's very far away, and there's like loads of monsters around. So he has a problem. He needs help. He needs to face these challenges. And they cannot solve these challenges on their own. It's like bigger challenges where they need help, aka where they need a guide or a service or product to help them with. And that is the second part of our little visual story. You need some kind of pain point to build around. So whatever you do, whether you're working on relationships, whether you're working with teams or entrepreneurs, there is always something that they want. The hero wants something and something that holds them back. They have a pain point, they have a problem, and it's important to cover those two things to really understand them in depth. This is like a very long journey, of course, but today might be the first step for you to then become the guide, because every good story has a guide. You see this like Frodo meets Gandalf, Luke Skywalker means Obi-Wan Kenobi. They all meet like someone who's very experienced and they need them because they have that problem that they cannot solve on their own and they need someone to help them out. And this is you. You are the guide, not the hero. And that's like once you get that, you see everything out there way differently because like seeing yourself as a guide really gets you into this like grown-up consciousness of like, okay, it's not about you here, it's about my client. He's the hero. What journey are they on, and how can I support them? How can I be the wise Gandalf, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whatever kind of archetype that gets them to where they want to be? And a good guide has solved the challenge that the hero is trying to change. So, Gandalf has done this whole like ring thing before with this other a little hobbit. They've been doing it, and he has the experience. He knows how to do it. And Obi-Wan Kenobi was once young and became a Jedi. So they know really how to handle these situations. If you are a good guide, you have solved the problem that your hero, your client, is trying to solve. And this is your brand and product. It should all be based around you being the guide, trying to help the hero, having lived through the challenge that the hero is facing. So 3 steps. A hero has a problem and meets a guide. And here you can already see how simple it is, right? We're not speaking of very abstract things. These are like 3 chapters, and we all understand them because we all understand stories. And your brain is happy because your brain is like, wow, I understand that. And I can now relate to the thing that Robin is trying to explain me, hopefully. So, but that was just the first part of the equation. So we've talked about storytelling, and now you have maybe a few insights on that. But now we really want to be practicing that, and that's where visualization comes in, because there's different ways of storytelling, but drawing is really one of the best tools because it gets you into this explorative mode. So now is the time where first, I'd like to see, are there any like burning questions before we start drawing? You can put them in the chat or just unmute yourself. Seems that everybody is still here and happy.
Yes, still here and happy.
Great. Thanks, Lars. So I'm gonna switch. All good, Barbara says. Nice. So switching back to the physical world, we now have about yeah, 20 minutes, maybe more, to get the 3 sections of your story onto the paper. So whenever you draw, you always need a little structure at the beginning. This time we use a very simple structure. We're just going to draw 3 lines in the middle of the paper and try to use your light colored marker, whatever you have, because this is really just for orientation. So start by getting the chapters ready for your story. Really think of yourself like writing a story. That's also how writers start, right? They don't like start writing right away. They really map out their story. And maybe you want to find a title. It's always good to start with a title on a visualization. So it could just be My Hero's Journey. But see if you want to find another title. Can really get creative here. How would you like your book to be called? And then you can get the little sub-chapters. So first, hero, already. First chapter is the hero. And now we're going to take just like 5 minutes on your own where you can really start, really brainstorm about their hero. And it's good to just maybe like start drawing an empty figure and you can later see if you want to add anything to them. Because like that image makes them alive. That's where visual storytelling is really different from the other things. So start by writing like who are they? And you can like write little bullet points or whatever. And what is their desire? What do they want? And maybe you've been doing like client work for a long time already, and you kind of totally know already what that is, but maybe it also is the first time for you. And in that case, give yourself just some space and really see what could be their desire. And it could be like, use little icons, images. This is really an exploring moment for you, and there's nothing to do right here. Something in the chat. Yeah, that's of course a problem that Barbara is mentioning. Like, what if you have many sort of clients? Try to choose one segment. Like, for example, I do graphic recording, and that's there I work with people to organize conferences. But that's not what I'm focusing on right here. Here I really want to focus on that client who's like kind of like a freelance facilitator, I'm gonna write that down. And really see where are they? Maybe they're living in a city. So yeah, choose one client. And yeah, I'm gonna start sharing another little song. And just stay in your flow, but I'm gonna slowly transition into the second chapter, and you can follow me in your own tempo. So, chapter two, the hero faces a problem. This is tricky to visualize, but also fun. Um, so here maybe it's advisable to first start by kind of like writing and drawing down a few things, like problems they face, and leaving the middle kind of like open to see what their problem is, because there's different metaphors that you could visualize a problem. It could be kind of a wall that they're hitting, but it could also be like a monster or like an inner demon. So leave the middle empty for now and just like write and draw around the middle a few like problems they're facing. And maybe as you're drawing, images emerge. It's always nice to have a center image. For the hero, that was easy. It's a person, and here it's a bit tricky to draw problems. But once you do it, it also makes the story more engaging and alive. So, yeah, gonna play another little song. If you have questions, put them in the chat. Yeah, to be honest, it's always hard to draw inner resistances, which is mostly the problem we're facing, is inner resistances. So it can be nice to draw monsters or, like obstacles, like walls. And you can also think of yourself maybe a few years back, and see what problems were you facing that you overcame that you're now trying to help others with. And it can get messy. This is just a little script. And again, slowly letting it fade out. Taking one more minute to finish this chapter. Yeah. So right now we're feeling the hero and their problem. You might even feel it in your body because you know that problem, because you have been there most probably. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this work. So now we're going to slowly transition into the third chapter of our story, which is the guide. And the guide, now it gets fun, is you. So finally, you are, you know, you come in and now we can draw ourselves. Of course, like we always love drawing ourselves because like we are the hero of our story. It's true. We are the hero of our story. We're just not the hero of our client's story, which is maybe a bit unfamiliar to start with another person, but that's how we do it in business. We want to create empathy. So here you can start by drawing yourself as the guide. So whatever, how would you draw yourself as a guide? Maybe that you have a little, object or something that guides in the way. I always like to draw myself as a little magician here. So start again by just like putting yourself in the middle. And then there's two central things that a good guide has that we're now going to be drawing. The first one is empathy. So, as a guide, and I've been saying this now a few times, you have been where your hero has been. So, you're just like your hero in the future, and you have solved that problem. So, here you can really see how did you solve these problems? How did you make the transition from wanting that to facing this problem to overcoming it? And this because we need personal stories. If you want to work with someone, they need to relate to you on a personal level. They need to be like, wow, I see Robin has been doing the kind of things that I'm working with now, and now I kind of trust him and I can relate to him, especially if you have to work in coaching. So Ingrid is leaving us. Thanks for being here. Curious what you think of that. Yeah, we're gonna stay. So first one is empathy. But of course, it's not only empathy. The second one is authority. A good guide has a certain authority. So here you're going to see what really qualifies you to be helping a person. And that's the kind of like typical resume thing. So did you do any trainings? Do you have any like achievements? What can you also like show people of like, hey, I have empathy with that problem, but I also solved it. And here I can show you how I did this training for like a year. And so emotional and practical. That makes a good guide. That's you. And yeah, just taking another song to draw yourself. Yeah, Veronica is asking, can I briefly repeat the empathy part? The empathy means you can tell a story of like, hey, I've been here. I've been in this problem. So how's that story? For me, for example, I can tell a story of like, oh my God, I started content creation and it was really the hardest thing I've done. Showing up on social media, experiencing rejection. I totally know how that feels. And when people feel that you know how that feels, they feel seen and understood and they feel trust. They're like, oh wow, this person knows how it is to be here because it's not easy to be here. Does that make it clearer? Yeah. That's really the reason, like the point where stories make sense. Like authority, many people talk about, I have this like certificate, whatever, but it needs more, and we know that it needs authority, empathy. And lastly, this is my little addition. You can see, what's your superpower? Is there any like, every, guide has these like superpowers of like, Gandalf can make water horses and these kind of things. And what is your superpower? And maybe just see if something comes up there. Um, this is more of an intuitive idea I just had. For me, of course, it's visual, and I call it wizardry. This is your secret sauce, so to say. Because there might be quite some people who have that sort of empathy, who have that authority, but there's only you with this magic power. And I can get messy at this point. You see, my thing is also very messy. Okay, Barbara's asking, can you give an example of empathy in the case of graphic recording? Yeah, it's a good question because it's not a typical kind of service that we talk on coaching. So I would say if someone asked me and they want to get my empathy, I'm like, hey, I've been to so many boring conferences where people just talk. And that's actually the reason I started like visualizing at the side because I was so bored of these conferences. And that's why I'm doing now graphic recording to really help these conferences. So you see, like, I think if I say that, like, if I connect to my people who want to have a great conference, that's their desire. And their problem is maybe having like having boring conferences, don't wanting that. When I speak of that problem of like, hey, I know how boring conferences feel and I found something to make them more interesting, that's where they feel understood. And that's where you get the gig. You don't like, I think you always get the gig when you can relate, when that person feels you. Okay, does that make it clearer? We just Yes, thank you. Cool. So I see some of us are still drawing. I can imagine now you're really buzzing and a lot has moved. So I want to give a chance to have a short moment in breakout rooms because now we finished this chapter. The story continues, of course, but now we only have so much time. So I want to give you some time in breakouts to exchange, and you will have around 4 minutes each. So, what I really want you to take away from the session is stop talking about yourself as the hero. That's the number one problem that all coaches and companies and people out there do. They say, like, "Hi, look at me, how important I am," and stuff. And you can't do that, but first understand your hero, understand their problem, talk about themselves, and then say, "And here I'm here to help you as a guide." So that's the first takeaway. Your client is the hero, you are the guide. Just take that with you. And also remember, our brains like easy. And I have empathy in that problem because I'm a very abstract thinker. I use a lot of abstract language and terminology. But the more I'm getting into this framework, I realize, okay, just say simple things. I draw your vision and strategy. That's kind of what I'm saying right now because people get it. Drawing, strategy, simple words. Could be even simpler. And lastly, visual storytelling really makes your message simple. First of all, because you use storytelling. Second of all, because visuals, and I hope that's what you experienced, give an emotional quality to your message. First of all, for yourself. Bless you. You're not on mute, Veronica.
Sorry.
And second of all, visualization. First, like you don't need to put that out there, but it really helps you, hopefully, to make sense. It's better than writing. You need an emotional way of sense making, and that's where visual storytelling for me really works wonders. But I also want to let you know that these were just 3 chapters out of a longer sequence because it, like, of course, the story doesn't stop when the guide shows up, right? Like, there's more things to it. There's the hero has a problem, meets a guide, but then we also have other chapters like who gives them a plan. So that's your product that you give them, how to solve their problem. And then you call them into action. So a hero needs a clear call to action, and that ends into success. And that's a framework you can really use for all kinds of things like content creation, sales calls, talking about your offer, whatever you do out there. These steps are essential. And if you liked this kind of stuff and you're up for more, I just want to mention that I offer visual coachings where I help people one-on-one to clarify the message. You know, that's me drawing your story and these kind of things. But I've been working with people one-on-one for quite some time, and I realized, and you might have seen that in my problems, that people also struggle with being lonely and they need a lot of information. So that's why I created Venture. You might have heard of it. Venture is a 4-month group program that really helps you to become visible with your offer and it combines visual coaching with an online course that really teaches you the best business practices like the one we just learned, but also like other tools that I've discovered. And actually, Miro, who's here in the call, is joining Venture. So I'm glad you're here, Miro. And I would love to have more people in this course because it's going to be pretty amazing. And it's launching soon. It's launching in about 2 weeks at the 1st of April. And you are the first people of the world who get an exclusive preview because I have created something quite unique and I want to show you that, which is, I think I've created the first course on Canva. So maybe you know Canva, it's kind of like a content creation platform. And that's really, I used this platform because it solves so many problems that I faced when I did online courses, you know, having all these different things. And what I like about whiteboards, they're infinite. So it's a really an infinite space where we go through different modules, you know, and you have the videos here, and then you can watch the videos in the thing. You have your tasks here, and we're going to be working 7 months in this program, and it contains 4 one-on-one visual coachings with me, about 90 minutes, where I draw your story, and we make sense of it all. Then we have 4 group calls, more or less like this one that you just experienced. So really where we work together, where we draw, where we learn certain tools, and where we also have that feeling of like, hey, I'm not alone in this. There are other people like me. And we're going to go through 7 online modules, which take you through a journey, also a little hero's journey of like, you know, starting with your vision, but then really developing a branding, getting really clear on your niche, so the things we did today, and then creating an offer out of that you validate, and then we go into marketing. Because most offers teach you marketing, but they don't really do this thing, and that's why it's not really effective. And you're going to learn some amazing skills like visual storytelling tools, the things we did today, but also creating on Canva because it's pretty amazing. You know, you have like, you can just go here and then you say, hey, I want to create a flyer. And you can create all kinds of things here. Marketing flyer, bam, and then you have it. And you can all do all of this on this platform, which is why I'm so excited about it. Also, AI is going to be part of it. I think it's a pretty cool tool to learn, and some magnetic marketing tools that I've discovered. And usually the price right now is 100 to 1,200 more or less, which is a pretty amazing price considering all of this. Like it's definitely also because it's my first program. It's I make it cheap, so I because I really want to fill this. But because you guys are my elf clients, like the people who are really like joining these master classes, I know they are up for some good stuff. I offer a special kind of last discount, which is a little present of like a special deal of 30% discount for like three people, the first three people in my newsletter. So I'm going to send that out tomorrow in my newsletter who want to join because that's really my kind of audience and I would love to have you. So I'm giving out a special price, 888, very cheap.